Let me tell you something harsh. The reason the world can break you is because you've given it permission. You've handed over your worth like loose change. To women, to friends, to strangers online. You're bleeding out from wounds you gave yourself. Because here's the truth. Humiliation only works on the man who cares what others think. The man who seeks applause. The man addicted to approval. Strip that away, and you become untouchable, unbreakable, unmovable. They can throw insults, laugh at your scars, mock your grind. But if you're not living for their eyes, if your soul doesn't feed on their praise, then their words have no weight. That's real power. Not muscles, not money, not status, but a mind so fortified, no external judgment can pierce it. Why validation is a drug, and why it owns you. From birth, you were trained to chase it. The pat on the back, the gold star, the good boy. You got addicted early. And the world knows it. It's why marketing works. It's why social media runs your life. It's why you feel the need to show every achievement, every angle of your face, every perfect moment. To strangers who don't give a damn about you. You've been conditioned to seek eyes on you, to crave approval like air. And when you don't get it, you suffocate. You feel invisible. And that invisibility burns worse than pain. That's why humiliation feels like death. Because the ego you built on likes, comments, validation crumbles the moment someone disapproves. But let me ask you this. What if you stopped caring? What if their claps and their criticism carried the same weight? None at all? What kind of man would you become? The answer is simple. A dangerous one. The weakness of the validation seeker. Look around. Men who live for validation are everywhere. The guy who can't post without checking likes every 5 minutes. The man who changes his opinions to fit in. The one who bends his spine, kills his integrity, just to keep peace, just to be accepted. They're not men. They're addicts. Slaves to approval. Validation seekers can't lead. Because their compass isn't truth. It's opinion. They can't build. Because the moment the crowd doubts them, they fold. They can't love. Because their entire worth depends on being chosen, not on choosing themselves. You know the worst part? They never live. They perform. Everything they do is an act. To win claps from an audience. That's too busy judging itself to care. That's the sickness of this age. Men no longer live by principle. They live by applause. And that's why humiliation destroys them. The untouchable man. Now picture the opposite. A man who moves in silence. Who builds in darkness. Who doesn't announce. Because his work is louder than his words. He doesn't need you to clap. He doesn't need your approval. He doesn't care if you like him, love him, or leave him. Because his worth was never on the auction block. He knows who he is. And that knowledge makes him a storm. Unpredictable. Unstoppable. Free. You can't humiliate him. Because there's nothing to humiliate. You can't shame him. Because shame requires an audience. And he's not performing. You can't cancel him. Because he never signed your contract of approval. That man is rare. And that man is feared. You are a prisoner. Here's why. If humiliation hurts you, it's because your chains are still on. You've tied your identity to opinions, to status, to acceptance. You walk into a room and measure your worth by how many heads turn. You post a picture and measure your value by hearts on a screen. You chase women, not because you want them, but because you need them to want you. You're not free. You're a prisoner of perception. And every opinion becomes a guard with a whip. The solution? Burn the prison down. How? By killing the part of you that needs permission to exist. By understanding this law. What they think of you is none of your business. Because truth doesn't need applause. And kings don't beg to be crowned. Reclaiming your power. So how do you break this? Not by saying I don't care, but by living like you don't care. There's a difference. When you truly stop seeking validation, you speak truth, even when it offends. You pursue goals, even when nobody claps. You love deeply, without fear of rejection. You stand alone, without trembling. And suddenly, humiliation becomes impossible. Because the very thing they try to take from you, approval, you no longer need. Imagine that freedom. Imagine walking into a room and not needing a single head to turn. Imagine building a life and never explaining why. Imagine being so rooted that gossip sounds like wind, present but powerless. That's when you become untouchable. The harsh truth about respect. You think people respect the man who seeks validation? They don't. They tolerate him. They use him. They laugh at him behind his back. But the man who stands alone? The man who doesn't need their praise? He commands respect without asking for it. Because everyone feels it. That silent strength. That self-contained fire. That unshakable frame. People are drawn to him. Because they can't move him. And in a world of fragile egos, the man who needs nothing becomes everything. The final law. They can't humiliate a man who doesn't seek validation. Because humiliation requires an audience. And you've left the stage. Let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them laugh. None of it matters. Because when you stop performing, you stop bleeding for applause. And when you stop bleeding for applause, you stop dying for scraps of approval. You're no longer a clown in someone else's circus. You're a king in your own kingdom. And the crown? It's not on your head. It's in your mind. So burn the need for validation. Kill the weakness that craves applause. And watch the world realize it can't break what it can't control. Because the man who needs nothing can never be humiliated.